Welcome back to the Shop Mini RC, everybody. I'm Ken, and today we are looking at the MJX we've got here. This is the 1/12 scale Hyper Go crawler that they made, the H12Y and Y Plus. We're going to check this guy out. I know there's a ton of review videos already out there, but this review is ours. We got one from Makerfire. These guys are awesome. They're on sale right now. Both versions are on sale. Check out the Makerfire website. Definitely worth picking up if this ends up interesting you. It's an interesting truck for sure. It's not your typical, not your standard. We're definitely going to dive into it and see what it's about. We'll see if the Hyper Go matches the hype. Let's dive into this thing. So here we go. They offer two different colors on this particular guy, the gray and the yellow. The H12Y Plus, which is, I believe, a censored FOC ESCN motor, whereas the H12Y is just the regular brushless. They're both brushless, but this one's censored, has FOC and whatnot. So we're going to check them out. We're going to dive into them again. These guys are 12 scale, so they're a little bit bigger than the minis that we're used to, the micros and minis, and they are also a metal body. So that's going to be heavy, but we're going to see how well it performs. We'll check it out. Again, I really like the look and the style, and the metal body just is really cool from a scale standpoint, but probably not going to be the most amazing performer, but I think this is going to be an awesome trail rig. And yeah, let's dive into this thing. Again, huge shout out to Makerfire for offering awesome RCs from all these different manufacturers. They are fantastic when it comes to shipping time and prices. They always have really good pricing and great customer service if you've ever had any issues, which I've never had any issues, but from the stories I've heard, is there an extra set of tires in here? There sure is. From the stories I've heard from other users, when there are issues, they get taken care of super quick. So one of the reasons I really like Makerfire. I just like that they offer a ton of stuff that a lot of the other retailers don't offer, especially from brands like MJX and whatnot. Ah, nice. A bumper. Looks like it comes with is this a plastic bumper? Yeah, it's a plastic bumper. And they've got this guy here. Aluminum? Or maybe it's just painted silver? Let's look. No, it's just a painted silver. So that's not metal. Interesting though. Everything else is metal. Kind of wish these doors opened. That would have been nice. Still a really cool looking rig. Hood opens, but there's nothing in there. Very cool. How do we get in there? How do we open it up? Looks like we're using a Dean's. Oh, just magnets. Got it. So there we go. We do have the FOC version. Let's see in there. Running that 3500 kV BL3650 with FOC censored. So definitely going to help make this crawl smooth. Shocks feel good. Almost looks like an SCX24 style chassis here. Just obviously much bigger. I guess it curves down in the front, so it's not quite the same, but it is a C-channel chassis, right? C-channel. Shocks feel good, though. Doesn't feel like there's a ton of play in there. Put this guy back down. Antenna. Guess our antenna fell off. Let's see, is there a lot of play? No, not really. On portals, not a ton of play, but a little bit. Yeah, just a little. And then it feels like the transmission, not too much play in there. It's interesting that the power button's on the bottom here. Not really a fan of that. I know in the new version, so we also have the new truck coming, the Bronco Baja 1000. That is on its way, and we will check that out when it gets here as well. And we'll be able to compare the two. I know that new version, they removed the switch, but they kept the hole there, so that's kind of interesting. They should have just made a whole new skid plate, but they chose just to pull pull the switch out of the skid plate, but at least it's not on the bottom. Not really a fan of that. These axles seem good though. Seem like some good axles maybe to build something off of. I'm kind of curious how these compare to the 1/18th or 1/14th scale Mini Capra. So maybe we'll compare to that as well, just a size comparison so you guys can get a good feel for it. I like that there's a detailed interior as far as the molding is concerned. Could use some stickers, some color to liven it up a little. I guess you could go through and paint that up yourself. But again, I think it's a great looking rig. Very cool, very unique. The size is interesting. It comes with the extra tires here. It's interesting that it comes with these not mounted, and that's what's mounted here, versus these guys. Also, there's some holes in there. I wonder if those are threaded. Could we put little fake or actual scale hardware in there? I'm sure we could. I think these are plastic. They are bead locks though, so we'll open them up. We'll pull the wheel off, see if there's foams in there. I don't think there are foams in there, but we could always add some. Let's see what battery we're running here. Pretty good sized battery tray, and the battery is definitely smaller than the tray, so that's interesting that the battery doesn't fit exactly in the tray. You can see that. Tons of movement in there. So you can fit a huge battery in. Right now it looks like it's running on just this guy, little 2000 milliamp 2S. I'm not sure if we can run this on 3S. I'll try to figure it out and let you know. Yeah, so little 2000 milliamp. This is Li-ion, so it's not a LiPo. But yeah, Dean's batteries. What else we got? Kind of wish this receiver box was lower and more kind of hidden. It's kind of big and ugly and poking out there. It's cool that it comes with an extra set of tires. These are different tread patterns. Look at that. They feel about the same in the compound though. They don't seem too different. I definitely like these better, I think. These just look kind of cheapy. These are definitely a little bit better looking. Wish the spare was using that same wheel. Are they different size actually? Hold on. I think these wheels might be different sizes. At least from the look of it. So outside to outside here. Just to the lip. 47.5 millimeters. Oh, just a little bit. So 47.5 versus 51.5, basically. So 4 millimeters bigger looking. Interesting. I wonder if the tires are different sizes. The actual like bead on the inside of the tire. When we open it up, we'll measure it. Let's see here. These guys are right around 85 millimeters. And these guys are, oh, we locked our servo. There we go. 89. It's a little bit bigger. A little bit bigger on the silver guys. And what? Let's change this to inches real quick. It's basically a 1.9. No way. Interesting. And these guys are 1.8. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. What else we got? What else? Some nice mirrors here. They do knock in, so that's good. So if you roll or you scrape on the rocks, it'll knock it in for you instead of just breaking off, hopefully. Kind of wish there was a light bar on there, right? That'd be cool with a light bar. It looks like we do have functioning LEDs. We'll get it powered up and we'll check it out. Ooh, even down here, these little fog lights look like they might be functioning. That'll be nice. That'll be nice. Let's antenna here. It's interesting. This is like super glued right there. That's a little tiny plastic antenna. Whoop. Guess if you like that little RC look, make sure you keep your antenna on there. Kind of fun. It's interesting this has got the windshield here and then the roll bar too. I like that. I wonder if that's separated so we can pull the body off. We're going to weigh this guy for you too. We'll get a front and rear weight bias, side to side weight bias, all that good stuff. Comes with some springs, so that's nice. So extra tires and wheels, extra springs, this chromey bumper. Oh, just put it right on top of the existing bumper if you want. Easy peasy. Drop some screws in. So that's cool. Here's our little USB charger. I'd highly recommend getting a hobby grade charger, some tools. So that's nice, everything you need to work on it. And then our owner's manual here. Should have a full exploded view, part numbers, all that stuff. MJX is typically really good about providing a decent manual. So Super cool. Also, this ESC is has an app, so we're going to check that out. We'll dive into the app. Yeah, this is a cool looking rig. I'm excited. Hopefully it performs decently. I know it's probably not going to be the best hardcore crawler, but for like a trail rig, this thing's going to be so sick. I can already tell. This is going to be so fun. People are going to definitely be asking about it if we run it out in the trails with other people. They're going to be like, what is that? I can already see it. I can already see it. Man, I don't know. Something about it I just like. I don't know what it is. I think it's because it's like just, it looks substantial. Like it feels substantial. It's got some decent weight to it. I mean, all metal links. It's got all bearings in it. It's full of ball bearings, metal drive shafts, metal gears in the drivetrain. We'll open that up. Try to show you that. I'll see if we can open it up. It's all hex hardware, it looks like, which is awesome. I love that. Again, this is the only thing that makes it feel toy grade to me. What else? What else? Metal links, metal chassis rail, metal gears in there. Oh, ball bearings. Yeah, censored lights. Battery's kind of lacking, but that's okay. We'll get better battery. Transmitter feels a little lackluster. It's got a screw in it. That's a toy grade sign. Some basics though. We'll see how it works. Channel 4, channel 3. It's gonna be for our lights and whatnot. So we'll check that out. So this front bumper does come with two M3x10 cap heads. I don't know why it came with cap heads and not at least button heads, because they stick out the bottom here, which is not ideal for crawling and even trailing. Just get caught up on that if anything. So we went in and put some countersunk screws in there. Again, this is plastic, so it kind of will open up a little bit as you tighten it down. Just don't over tighten it if you do that. Again, M3x10 countersunks, or at least some button heads so they're rounded. Cap heads, come on now. Worst idea ever. It's okay. It's just screws though. Nice thing is it does have some mounting spots for a winch if you decide to put a winch. I really love that this top, the body will go all the way back, if not more. So you have full access without having to remove the body. If you do want to remove the body, it's just these two screws here, super simple. Unfortunately, it looks like the lights do not come off with a plug. I love when companies that have lights have quick release plugs. We can just unplug it and pull the body off. Unfortunately, this guy does not appear to be like that. So it's going to be hard to get the body off without having to open this up and pull all the wires out to get the lights off. Anyway, not a huge deal, but just a little thing that could be improved. Battery. So let's check out this battery tray. Go to millimeters here. This battery tray is pretty good sized. Looks like we are at basically 101 millimeters. Basically at 100 to 101 millimeters there. And the width, right at 42. Yeah, 42. So that's a pretty good sized battery. Let's see if I can get some height here. Right to the bottom of that battery box. I'll go a little lower for you. 24, I'd say 24. You really need to be able to fit it in though, so I'd say probably 22 would be good. Here, let's see what this battery is, because it's hitting right on that box with the wire and stuff. So let's see, smaller. So 19. Yeah, you probably don't want to go much bigger than 19 or 20 millimeters, especially trying to fit this in there when you consider the wires and the strap here and all that stuff. 19 is going to be about your max. But yeah, I mean, good sized tray for some long trail runs. You could fit, this is a 2000, you could probably fit a 3000 in there, no problem. So we're 19 by 36. And then again, length is irrelevant because it's much longer on this tray here at 101 millimeter length. Anyway, I dig that. I like when there's a lot of space for battery. Not that on a crawler you want a really heavy battery, but again, I think this is more trail riggy, right? So we're going to end up wanting to have more runtime, and yeah, just bigger battery is better when it comes to that. All plugged in. I wonder if we can kind of tuck this in the side here so it's not hanging out the back. Let's see, how are we covered up? Yeah, tire basically covers it up anyway, so yeah, we're fine. All right, so two AA's for the transmitter here. There's our power, and underneath we're going to be our power button there. Single press. I always like to make sure when I turn on a car for the first time, wheels are off the ground, off the bench at least, so that we don't run off if the trims are messed up. All right, so steering trim. throttle trim, steering dual rate, throttle dual rate. So you can turn it down if you want somebody younger or newer to run it. Max speed or crank it up. Definitely seems like it's got some decent wheel speed there. It is forward reverse. There's a tiny bit of a delay. See how the steering feels. Not too bad. Decent steering servo. Actually seems like a pretty good steering servo. It's a little slow. I wonder if that's the BEC. I wonder how much output's on this BEC from the ESC, but seems good. Again, for a stock RTR. Slow crawl. Let's just try this tiniest bit of slow crawl here. Oh, definitely feels geared high. So it's slow, but definitely have to have a super sensitive finger. Oh yeah, definitely got some good FOC though. Nice. Yeah, it's pretty smooth actually. You just got to be super, super sensitive on that trigger. There is a fan. Hear the fan running in there? It's on the ESC. And this is a 45 amp ESC. Let's check out these lights. Channel 3. Oh, there we go. Some hazards. Off. On. Oh, those are turn signals. No, I thought they were going to be like fog lights. Well, at least you can turn them off all the way. That's nice. See, are they on the rear too? Yep. Forward, reverse. So we do have reverse lights. That's nice. I dig it. Especially for, is there a light control? Oh, there must be a light control. Oh, there is. There's a little light controller in there. Because I was going to say, there's only 3 wires, positive, negative, and signal running from the ESC. So there must be a light controller in. Yes, there is. Right there. One thing nice is it doesn't just shut off when you push the button. So that's good. You got to actually press and hold. And you got to hold for quite a while. So I don't think that's going to be shutting off on us even when we're on the rocks scraping. Again, it's pretty recessed down in there. And you do have to hold it for quite a while. There we go. Also, channel 4 doesn't do anything. But when we open up the receiver, we'll see if we have a channel 4. All right. Well, we'll go officially run it here in a little bit. Before we do that, though, I do want to dive into it a little bit deeper. I want to take a wheel off, measure the hexes for you, open up a shock maybe, open up the axles, open this guy up, all that good stuff. Let's get deeper into the MJX. Again, shout out to Maker Fire, guys. These things are on sale right now. Definitely worth looking at if you've been on the edge. That's a huge savings. Again, Maker Fire is fantastic when it comes to getting these things out quick. All right, let's go ahead and do that. Actually, before we go into all the opening it up, let's go ahead and do some comparisons. All right, some comparison to the SCX 10.3 base camp. This is a 12.3 inch wheelbase. This guy is a 9.1 inch wheelbase. So you can see pretty good difference there. Definitely smaller than the 10 scale by far. The camera's not helping because we're on kind of a fisheye, so it makes it look even more so. There you go. Either way, you can see it's still pretty big difference. If we compare the width, you can see it's also bigger, but not crazy bigger, right? I guess once you get out to the portals and you get out to the hex hub, let's try to line this up where it looks like it's about right. You can see there's a pretty good size difference there. Okay. So I just wanted to show next to a base camp. That's very common. Many people have a base camp or at least something similar. H10 optic, even more so. This guy's got some pretty big tires on it, so you can see. And it's going to be a lot wider. All right. And then obviously the thing that it's closest to is going to be the UTB18, or what I like to call the UTB14. These things are basically the exact same size. They're both, well, this is a 9.1, this is a 9.0 inch wheelbase. So that's the length here. So basically the same. I mean, they look to be pretty much spot on. And then when it comes to width, also pretty spot on there. Almost exactly the same. So these axles might be a good axle option for certain kind of builds. If you're looking for a mini, like a Sorka class mini truck, maybe you could use something like this as your base. Tear this whole thing down, rip that body off, get yourself a lightweight Lexan body. Skid is the only thing that I kind of worry about there. You can see kind of how much better designed the axial skid is. We also have really good triangulation in our links. Triangulation is what prevents your axle from shifting side to side like this. So the more triangulated that is on your uppers and lowers, the more it's going to be stable. Whereas this guy's pretty stable too. I'm not saying it's not. We're triangulated pretty heavily on those upper links, but these lower links are pretty straight. They could have definitely narrowed them in, put them on the inside of the skid, left this whole skid angled here on the side, kind of like they did here, and then just move these guys in. They would have to change their transmission though, because their output shafts are very close to the edge. So that's kind of a problem. But yeah, I think with a little bit of adjustments, they could have done something a little different here. But it's still really cool that it's basically the same as a Mini Capra. So you could basically just call it a UTB18 competitor. Although they got the scale right. They're calling it a 12 scale. The Capra, when you measure it out compared to the 10 scale Capra, is really a 113.8. So 1/14th scale compared to the 1/10th Capra, because it's a buggy, right? Whereas this is a Jeep, so it's going to be a little bit larger per the actual vehicle. So it puts it down to a 12 scale. But again, exact same wheelbase. Width, track width, and length. So very cool. I actually love that. Means we can throw some of these 1.5s on here, and they should work just fine. Let's go ahead and open it up, get our measurements on our hexes, make sure that stuff does work, and we'll dive into the axles, shocks, open this electronics up, stuff like that, and then we'll run it. And here's inside the tires. The black ones, which are what come on the non-plus version, have screws on the front. Those screws on the front will separate the bead here. Looks like front, back, and inner ring. Oh, look at that. And then we also have foam in there. Let's go ahead and pull this inner ring out. Interesting. And some foam. So there is foam in there. It's pretty soft though, pretty soft foam. And these tires, they're pretty stiff. But again, over time, I'm sure they break in, get real nice. And then this guy, 5 screws on the back. We should be able to pull the face off. It's interesting, the photo shows screws being in these holes there, but it doesn't come with any screws for that. So I think that'd be cool with some scale hardware. So if you got scale hardware, definitely consider throwing them in there. What's going on here? Just tight. So this has a different kind of inner ring. And these are looking like they're different sizes, essentially. Let's see. Yeah, just a little bit. It's funny, the outer ring is the same size. I mean, for the very close. But then the inside where the bead sits is pretty different. And this one also has foam in it. Looks like the same foam. It's actually a tad bigger. Here, let's go ahead and measure these again. These are basically 1.9s. They're just real low profile 1.9s. And these guys are basically 1.8. Yeah, these are like 1.94, 1.93. Anyway, so I was confused why this was measuring the way it was when earlier when we measured it, it wasn't quite that big. This is showing like 1.8. This side is a totally different size. So it's kind of like a basher tire. You know, basher tires generally have like a larger inner diameter so that they can fit over the knuckles and stuff. This looks like it's done kind of the same thing. We have 16 inches on this front side and then, or 1.6 inches, excuse me, and then 1.8, almost more on the inside. So definitely two different sizes going on there. So that's kind of annoying. I wish I would have used kind of a standard wheel on this. So you can't really swap out the tires on these wheels, but I don't know. If you're going to swap tires, you might as well swap wheels, especially since you've got so many different options with this hex size. I do like that this one is a normal size. That way, if you want to throw new wheels on these or new tires on these wheels, you could. And you could still use those stock plastic wheels if you want something lighter weight to keep down your rotating mass so you don't have high rotating mass. That would be good. Yeah, but these guys, that's not going to work so much. I mean, you could cut the beads off on the back to make it work if you really wanted to use these wheels, but meh, whatever. Right, our hex is a 12 millimeter hex. Pull the portal housing off with just these 4 screws. This guy pops right off. There we go. Some metal gears in there. I wonder if they make underdrive and overdrive gears. That would be super cool to get some underdrive or overdrive for this. Probably underdrive would be better if you really wanted to go to do crawling. So put underdrive in the rears if they make it. That would be awesome. Then our 2 shouldered screws, like so, holding our knuckle on. So that's nice that they're shouldered. That pulls this guy right off to see our bearing in there on the inner portal, and then our CVD. Okay, this guy, pretty beefy actually. 3.75, so 3 3/4 millimeter thick there. And then the key here is thicker than the main shaft. Usually the key is smaller. They usually just take this main shaft and then flatten the edges, making it thinner, which means you lose that strength, but these are actually thicker. So your weak point is the actual shaft itself versus here. I guess technically your weak point is the CVD ball in there. These guys pop out super simple. Just slide your pin out. And there we go. You can slide this pin out. And there we go. Simple as that. This guy, pretty thick, 2 millimeter. So it's not going to break easily. This is also pretty reinforced in there. It looks like they didn't take any extra out where it was unneeded. So that's good. It basically keeps that guy as strong as possible for its size. I also went ahead and removed the front screw here. There's 2 rear screws. Don't lose these bushings. There's 2 rear screws and a front screw, and I was hoping you could just pull the C-hub off. It looks like the C-hub is a separate piece. I mean, it is a separate piece, but I think it's actually keyed in. Like I said, don't lose these bushings. I think it's actually keyed into the axle housing there. So unfortunately, you can't just pull the C-hubs out by removing those 3 screws. It's still in there. I think you have to separate the actual axle housing just a little bit to be able to get that out. It's going to be a little hard for us to get in there with the servo and all that. Maybe we can do it on the rear here. Let me see if the rears looking any easier there. 1, 2. Oh yeah, we might be able to get the rear by doing the 4 and then pop this guy and see if we can pull off the whole housing there. Actually, we're going to open up the rear anyway, so we can pull that off and check those gears in there. All right, so we're going to open up the rear axle housing. It's just the 4 screws here in the center, your 4 center diff screws, and then there's 2 screws on each, basically part of the portal housing, this where the C-hub or portal housing is. There's 2 screws, and then there's a 3rd screw back here for each side, but we didn't remove that, and this guy just drops right off. See that? How cool is that? So the 8 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you can just pull the rear end off. The same was going to be with that front. You're going to be able to pull that off. We didn't have to pull the wheels and tires off. Pretty cool. You can see it's nice and greased up in there, just like the portals were. They got plenty of grease in there, and it's all metal with bearings. Very cool. This spool looks like it's a multi-piece spool. You can see the screws in there, so you can pull that apart. I wonder if they'll ever make an open diff for these. I know there's a bunch of upgrades. We'll talk about that towards the end. I'll show you some of the different upgrades that are offered for it and that Maker Fire carries. But very cool that we can pull that right out, no problem, and service the diff without having to even remove our wheels and tires. Pretty cool. Let's see. What else? Metal pinion in there, obviously. Bearing. Yeah, I'm surprised there haven't been more people mentioning this being a good competitor to the UTB18. Because again, it's pretty much the exact same when it comes to the axles, wheelbase, width, stuff like that. It's very similar. Brushless though, which is freaking awesome. So let me go ahead and get a shock off here. So everything has been a 2mm driver up until now, where it's a 2.5 for the shock and link screw here. Also be aware there's a nut on there that's holding in, that's on the other end of this. So as you're unscrewing it, it's going to drop out. We did have it drop out. I don't know where it went. Somewhere. Whoa. Sure, we'll find it. So we've got the metal shock housings or aluminum shock housings here. I believe the cap, the spring adjuster, spring retainer, all that link end, even the end cap here is going to be all plastic. They do feel good though. They feel like pretty decent shocks. Feels like there might be a bladder in there. So we'll go ahead and open that up. They're nice and loose on the ball joints, which is good. Sometimes they're really tight there, which just causes binding in your suspension travel and articulation. So definitely feel like they're decent in that regard. They are super tight. So you have to use some shock pliers. We're going to use shock pliers. They don't mar up the aluminum because they're aluminum themselves. And then we'll be able to pop this top off here. Yeah, it's super tight. Once you break it loose, it's easy peasy. Look at that. There is a bladder in there. I need to get something to set this on. I should have a shock stand of some kind, but I do not. See if I can get this out without damaging it. Yeah, there we go. So that bladder helps prevent cavitation in the shocks, which is good. It basically allows you to fill the shocks all the way with oil, and then there's, so you have no air in the actual oil itself, and then that way when the shock is traveling through the shock housing, the air doesn't mix with the oil, causing inconsistent shocks. So you're able to have fully filled shocks, and then if there's any pressure change, it pushes onto the bladder here. And again, cavitation is when the air mixes with the oil and causes that oil to get thinner under use and movement. All right, let's see. It looks like I didn't want to pull this all the way apart, but maybe we should, just to show you guys, because it's kind of fun. I like doing it. We'll go ahead and pull our shock end off here. Again, you always want to use shock pliers when you're dealing, especially with the rod, because you don't want to mar that up. If you mar it up, it's going to tear up your O-ring inside the shock and cause leaks, all kinds of stuff. Also, before you pull this shock shaft out, you want to loosen up this cap here. Otherwise, your threads on your shock cap or on your shock shaft will tear up your O-ring as well. Oh man, this is going to be super tight as well, huh? So we have 2 sets of pliers. Just got to break it loose because it's super tight. So we'll pull this apart. That'll drop this out. Then we should be able to see what our O-ring situation looks like. Maybe, I don't want to lose too much oil here. So we have 1 O-ring. And maybe just the 1. All right. No, there's a second O-ring in there. Just got to be careful pulling it through. There we go. Second O-ring, our valve, and our shock shaft. Is that it? Yeah, the whole housing is aluminum though, so that's super nice. Tolerance is pretty good for the shaft on the actual housing. You want just a little bit of space in there, but you don't want so much that there's a bunch of play. A lot of times when people build shocks, they'll also have a spacer in there, kind of a harder nylon type plastic between the shock O-rings or above them, just to kind of help keep the shock shaft aligned and straight. But this seems fine. Seems good. We're going to have to refill this guy with some oil though. And there's our valve. All right, so let's go ahead and get this guy back together here. Now when you're putting it back together, we need to put our pin in our valve. You need, again, make sure you don't put your cap on, your end cap, and push your shock shaft through the end cap. If you do that, you're going to tear up the O-rings. Definitely make sure you put your shock shaft through, then assemble your O-rings here. Gently over that, and then push through. Okay. Now, if we were going to rebuild all these shocks, which I'm not going to do right now, we would use some udder butter. Just a little bit on these O-rings, just the tiniest bit, and it will help keep the O-rings nice and supple and smooth without causing the O-rings to puff up and get kind of swollen. That's something a lot of times that happens on shock O-rings, is they will, people will put lubricants on there or greases trying to help waterproof it and just keep things smooth. And what they end up using actually gets absorbed into the O-rings and causes it to puff up, which in the short term is good because it, especially if you have crappy tolerant shocks, it'll kind of fill those gaps and make the shocks real smooth and less play and slop in them. But the problem is over time, that puffing causes them to degrade and then they just get worse and inconsistent. So, the thing I like about udder butter is that it's not going to do that to your O-rings. Now, I'm not going to rebuild all the shocks on this guy right now, but when we do, once it gets dirty or we feel like we need a little bit of extra kind of maintenance on it, definitely get it oiled up or greased up with the udder butter there. They make some awesome products. I think I showed it the other day in a different video. I've been using this cow snot a ton to clean up my bench and clean up my mini Zs and my small scale trucks. You just use a little bit of this. It's kind of like a slime, but it's better. And it just like sticks into everything without actually sticking to the stuff. And it'll get into all the nooks and crannies and crevices and get all the dirt out. Super awesome stuff. It's only like $5 for a jar too. All right, let me get this back together and we will look at some more of the truck. One more thing before we leave these shocks, I wanted to measure out the silver shocks that are included. They're 1mm springs versus the ones that come on it. These black ones are 0.9. So the spring is a little thicker on this guy, but it's shorter. So let me measure that out for you. These guys are at like 51, 52, whereas the ones that come on it are right around 58. Yeah, 51, 52, 52 versus 58 in length. But there's also a lot more coils in this and less coils in this. So it's interesting. I think they're almost basically, again, just the way it feels, the same spring rate because these coils are so much closer, but it's a thicker coil versus this one is a thinner coil, but they're more spaced and it's longer. So I don't know. You'll just have to mess with them. You would think the thicker wire would definitely increase the spring rate, but they feel about the same. Again, I think that has to do with the coil spacing. But this one's definitely shorter, so just keep that in mind. If you want to lower your rig a little bit more, maybe go with these guys. And while we're still here, I might as well. Shock length extended. Let's do it from this side. Try to get it center eye to center eye. Looks like we're going to be right around 77mm. And if we compress, we're going to be right around 56, 57. So 57mm compressed. Again, this is just my estimate here from the center eye to center eye. 57 to 76, 77. Cool. And then there are M3 screws. So you need 3 M3. So you got no play there if you're looking for different shocks. Not that you should. These seem really good the way they are. Last shock thing, I wanted to point out there are multiple shock mounting positions. Looks like we have 5 different shock mounting positions in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same thing up on the front here. 5 different shock mounting positions. So pretty cool that you're able to adjust that right out of the box as well. So I dig that. So I wasn't going to pull the transmission out, but I changed my mind. I'm committed, and you do have to pull the drive shafts out because they are, I don't know if you can see them here, they are kind of keyed into themselves. See that there? So you have to undo the drive shaft from the transmission side, and these guys are Loctited in, or thread locked. I don't know if you can, most of it peeled off at this point, but there was a ton of thread lock on there. It's super tight, and then also the shaft, just sliding it off of the output shaft, was super tight. So like, be careful, make sure you have a nice snug driver if you're going to pull these grub screws out, because you're going to have to put some force on it and you don't want to strip them. This front one is a little easier than the back. The back I was seriously considering trying to figure out how to heat it up. Use like a soldering iron tip so you don't touch any of the plastic, but just try to get it right on the screw. And that sometimes getting a little bit of heat on there helps. Man. Yeah, they're tight. They're tight for sure. We had to use a flathead to pop this away from the transmission because, like I said, it's also tight on the actual output shaft. There we go. All right. And should be good. The only thing we had to do is unplug our sensor cable here. And then there was a zip tie right here that we pulled off. Just snip that. So now we're able to get this guy out. And I'm not gonna, oh, these are bolt plugs. Pull that out there. So here you can see what I'm talking about with the drive shafts. They're captured. I don't know how that pin comes out. I thought there might be a grub screw on the end pushing into the pin, and then you could put a driver down there, but that doesn't make any sense because of the CVD. So I think they're just pressed in, which means if for some reason you were trying to get the drive shaft apart, you're gonna have to press that pin out. Good luck on it staying in once you press it out, though, if you want to put it back in. So, yeah, interesting how they chose to do these drive shafts. Don't know if I'm a big fan of that, especially if you're trying to do different length drive shafts, adjust your wheelbase, or just get some normal drive shafts and you should be good. But these do have some pretty smooth movement here, so I don't know. And it guarantees that they're always phased correctly. And let's go ahead and set this guy aside and look at what our motor transmission combo looks like. So I'm going to pull off this back side, I think. Not the motor plate. We'll see what we get here. So here's our transmission housing. 2 screws here. We'll pop this off, and that gets you access to your pinion. That's a big pinion there. That's probably why I feel like it could have a little bit more granularity in slow crawl, but looks like it is adjustable. That plate in there has got multiple holes, a 20T, 18T. You can see those labeled down in there. So that's cool. And then 3 more screws and you can get this whole piece off here. So it is plastic gears in here. I haven't heard anything about people stripping any of these gears. This gearbox is pretty cool. It's very compact in a sense, like this way, right? Like it's a very thin gearbox just in general, right? It is kind of large this way though. But yeah. It is bearings though, so underneath all those gears we have bearings. And yeah, it looks like there's a lot of different 22 tooth, 18 tooth, 20 tooth. So you definitely can throw a smaller pinion. What is that one? 20, I can't tell. Let's get this gear off. There's grease on top of it. 20 tooth. Oh, I see. You can rotate it. So 20, yeah. 18 and 22, it looks like. 3 settings, basically. Anyway, there's your gearbox. Hopefully that helps you out. Like I said, I haven't heard anything about these gears stripping out. You would really have to push hard, I guess. The main one would be maybe this guy here, just because it's right with the pinion. But, like I said, haven't heard anything. Know that with all the bearings, if you get it wet, you definitely need to do some maintenance to make sure your bearings don't rust out. If you get water all up in there, that's why a lot of guys that do water stuff like bushings, you're not really moving at high speeds, so the bearings are minimal in their help, but definitely make your maintenance tasks a lot easier. Some of that grease more on these gears. This would also be a great place to use the udder butter if there wasn't already a ton of grease in there. Let's go ahead and get all of our screws back in, and then we will look at the electronics. We'll look at that ESC box and see if it looks waterproofed. Again, not that you really want to do water with this guy, but we'll check and see, and check that channel 4. I don't know why I always use hand tools when I've got power tools sitting right here. Makes it so much easier. I just always, it's literally sitting right there. And I always forget to use them. I just use the hand drivers. Anyway, the little Injora tool here is pretty nifty, especially for the larger stuff. We don't really use it much on the super small scale stuff just because it's a good way to strip things. Plus, you don't need that much torque to break things loose, and it doesn't take that long to screw things in. But on the bigger stuff, it's definitely helpful. And now into the electronics. We'll get into this in a second. I just wanted to show you the servo. It's a 20 kilogram servo, 90 degrees, 6 volt, 0.13 seconds at 60 degrees, waterproof servo. Looks like a pretty good servo. It is a aluminum housing here, plastic housing here with a plastic servo horn. 4 screws on this box, and looks like we do have a little gasket in there, so that's good. That helps waterproof things. What else we got in there? There is a waterproof gasket there. Looks like they did a good job trying to kind of waterproof stuff up. This is a big box for this little receiver, though. Looks like there is a, what is that, VCC or fan? So I guess just power there. Then your actual channel 4, channel 3, channel 2, and channel 1. Small receiver, huge receiver box. I don't know why they made the box so big. I guess if people want to put their own receivers in there, they put a bigger one with lights and stuff, but I think I would have preferred just a smaller receiver box. Hell, you don't even need this receiver box. You could probably put this receiver somewhere over here, like right here next to the motor ESC, kind of like right up in here. I don't know. I guess if you want it waterproof, you need it in a waterproof case. But yeah, that's a big box for that little receiver. But it is cool that it's all waterproofed with our gasket, which just fell off. Where did it go? There it is. All right, I'm gonna get this guy back together. I guess we're gonna go run this thing. If there's any questions you guys have, put them down in the comments below. And I or other community members that have one of these will try to answer them for you. And if anybody has any good information that we missed, we can always pin it to the top of the comments. And if you just want to say hi, definitely say hi down in the comments. I like the conversation. I also wanted to point out that I didn't see any bind button on here or on the transmitter. There's no bind button anywhere. So I don't know if these are just kind of like permanently hardware bound and you can't switch it to anything. And it is glued in there, so it's not coming off. There might be, I don't see any buttons on the sides or anything, so unless it's on this side over here, but if you're probably not going to ever need to rebind it. And if you do need to bind a transmitter and receiver, it's probably going to be your own. So you will have your own binding procedure for that. Let me go ahead and weigh this guy on the scales. And here we have it, 50-50 left to right, weight bias, 51-49 front to rear, with a total of 2181, 2182. So definitely a heavier rig, but not too crazy. And again, nice balance left to right, and then front to rear 51-49, which is good for like a trail rig, really maybe 55-45. And if you're looking for more hardcore crawling, you're definitely gonna want like 60-40. Maybe even more if you're really going hardcore, but this is definitely not that. So I think the 50-50, at least it's not rear heavy, right? It's definitely got more weight towards the front, and that's with the battery in there. Mind you, it's not a large battery. It is definitely a smaller battery. If you put a larger battery, it's obviously going to shift the weight towards the back, but even then, you're not going to be much further than the 50-50. So that's super nice. Also, they make a bunch of upgrade parts. Like I said, we'll go over that. There's brass knuckles and stuff like that we can put on the front if you really want to get some good weight bias towards the front for a little bit more hardline stuff. But yeah, overall, not too bad. Again, 2182. Comparing that to a stock, this is a 4-wheel steer, but basically a stock Mini Capra 11-20-26. So a lot lighter on the Mini Capra. Now, mind you, there's no battery in here. If I threw a battery in, you get a little bit more weight. So 1187. Again, this is not a totally scale trail type body. It's not a Jeep. It's a buggy. So that's going to be very, very different. Also, it's brushed, not brushless. And yeah, just feels lighter in general. That metal body is definitely going to add weight. It's almost 1,000 grams heavier. It is over 1,000 grams heavier. 2182, 2180. Almost exactly 1,000 grams heavier. 1180. That's crazy. I mean, we also have that spare in there. We also have an interior. Well, I guess this has an interior too. Blame it on the body, guys. Blame it on the body. I guess if we're going to blame it on the body, we should make sure it is the body. Truck actually, I think it's actually the chassis. Well, don't forget, there's metal links, metal drive shaft, metal chassis rails. So there's a lot of metal already on this guy. All right, here we go. Still heavier without the body on it. Crazy. Do have a good forward weight bias though. And I'm trying to not disturb it too much. The wire is still attached, but that shouldn't matter much. 5446. Again, I think this could be a good platform to build some cool crawlers for sure. Even if you want to go more than just a trail rig, I think you can rearrange some of this a little bit, get some different tires on here, throw a lightweight body on there, pull off the stuff that's kind of adding weight up high where you don't want it. And I think it would really, really potentially do well. It's already got a forward-facing motor, which helps there, which is awesome. Maybe get some skids, some sliders, and add your electronics and your batteries on the side. Put a Lexan body on it. I think it could be a performer. Again, I think it's a good competition for that Capra, for the Mini Capra. So let's see if I can do just the body here. It's going to be a little bit harder. Let's see. We'll just do it like this. There we go. So the biases aren't going to matter. I'm looking at the total weight here. Looks like we're right around 470. Looks like it's hard to tell with this wire. I'm barely moving it. This just kind of puts a little bit of pressure on it, but 480. Yeah. So guess the body's not all to blame, but definitely all the metal links, drive shaft, steering links, chassis rails, all that being metal, definitely adding some weight to it. All right, guys, last thing before we go hit the trails with this guy, maybe even the rocks. Let's check out this ESC app. You go and download the Snail ESC app. You can just scan the QR code in the manual. And that guy's going to be right in here, like I showed earlier. Scan that guy, takes you straight to the app in the store. Download it, say open. Brings you right over to the app. It's going to ask you for access to your Bluetooth. You say yeah. It's going to pop up different Bluetooths that are compatible, which is obviously the one here. We're going to choose that guy. Connectable. Go. There we go. Let's go ahead and see if we got some throttle output. That's cool. So I dig that. What do we got going on here? Let's start at the top. Just which Bluetooths are there. What do we got there? Warning whether or not to disconnect and return to the previous screen. No, we don't want to disconnect. So we have our voltage, 7.7, our ESC temperatures, our motor temperatures. That's pretty cool. It's got a motor temperature sensor. And then it looks like we have our settings in here. Get that loaded up. Transmitter connection, motor connection. Interesting. So some transmitter stuff. I don't know if it's actually connecting to the transmitter or it's just, oh, it is. Look at that. Well, it might just be taking data that the ESC is receiving and passing it. I don't think it's actually connecting to the transmitter itself. Maximum throttle set to keep the throttle maximum. Oh, this is calibration. So calibrating your throttle. So we'll say next. We're going to hold max throttle. Next. Minimum. So reverse, next, and then neutral, next. Always try to make sure your truck is off the ground when you finish that, just in case. Motor connection, let's see what that is. During the motor calibration, the ESC needs to be energized and remain properly connected to the motor at all times. Once calibration is started, the motor will run on its own. Please make sure there are no obstructions within the range of the motor motion associated. Okay, let's try this. I'm going to hold the truck off the ground on this guy. Did you hear that? Interesting. What else you got? Maybe? All right. That's pretty cool that it's got, I've never seen a motor calibration setting. I'm going to leave this guy upside down just in case we mess with something that causes it to just go. All right, so here's our settings that we have. Our running mode, which is forward with reverse or forward reverse with brake. Obviously for a crawler, we're going to do forward with reverse instantaneously. Otherwise, we'd have forward, brake, and then let go, and then reverse, which is good for a basher or if you're running like kind of trail bashing. So PPM throttle matching, intermediate, disabled, low, high. I'm going to leave that intermediate. I'm not sure what that is. Max forward force, that's going to be our max speed forward, our max speed reverse, our drag brake if you need more drag brake. This drag brake is pretty strong. We're going to leave it at that for now. Actually, we're going to turn this guy down just a little bit, I think. Unless we find ourselves rolling down a hill. Let's turn it all the way down, see if it updates quickly. Off. No, maybe we have to save. Then it transmits the data. So it's not going to change immediately. You do have to save it. Now it's much less drag brake. Okay. I wish it kind of adjusted on the fly. That would be nice, but this will work. Let's go ahead and do 50%, 45% drag brake. Intelligence drag brake acceleration. I assume that has to do with if you're at full throttle, like how much it's going to slow it down so it doesn't break the gears. Drag brake acceleration, max brake force, neutral range, throttle rate and punch, all the way up to level 8. BEC voltage. Looks like you can crank that guy up. Can we crank that up here? Let's save it. Let's see if that changes. I don't know. Is that different? Let's see the lights kind of. Well, that's the signal. I don't know. Did that change? Okay, save. It's hard to tell. Let's do it again. Save. Maybe a little different. It's hard to tell. Let's see, lipo cells, auto, 2 or 3S. So this does say 3S. Now that makes me wonder if we can run 3S. I tried to do some research and everything I found said do not run 3S on the truck. It's not really built for it. So maybe this is for other vehicles. I would be careful if you're going to run 3S. It does not say 3S anywhere in the packaging. So if you run 3S and you burn it up, that's going to be your fault. And then low voltage cutoff, 3 or 3.2. In my opinion, if you go to 2.8, you're going to have possible battery damage. So just be aware of that. All right, let's go ahead and save all this. Looks like that's going to be all the settings though. I dig that it's pretty easy to use. I think it's very intuitive. Can restore to default. There's our version. Yeah. Did that restore? Did I hit drag brake? I did. Restore default. Actually, when you do that, it immediately saves. That's annoying. All right, let's put our drag brake back down to 45. Save. But yeah, pretty easy to use app. I'm sure they can continue to update this and give us more features in the future as they get them. I dig it. All right, guys. If you got any questions, put it down in the comments below. If you got any insight, put it down in the comments below and I can pin it to the top. I think it's time to go run this guy. All right, let's go ahead and run this guy. Seems like it's gonna be a good trail rig for sure. We're gonna go take it over here down to, there's a park over there, and we're gonna see how she does. It's kind of rippy, kind of quicker than I expected. We can almost pop wheelies. Whoa! Oh, first ding. Oh no! We already dinged her up. That's interesting. It's orange underneath there. It's painted. Kind of thought that would be an actual black plastic, but all right, let's go see. Definitely not slow. Whoa, jeez. That's what you get with solid axles, I guess. All right, let's get over here. Uh-oh. No motorized vehicles. We'll see about that.
Creeping up slow through the mud and stone. H12Y, yeah, it's a rig of its own. Brushless heart, torque and control, climbing the line where the wild still roll. Roots and ruts, don't fold, don't break. Brushless ESC, every crawl I can take. Grip on the rocks, tires biting, never stall. MJX crawler, conquering it all. Hyper Go, climbing high, never low. On the ledge, on the trail, moving steady, slow. Hyper Go, hear the motors growl. Flow, king of the crow. Whoa, never going home. Whoa, never going home. Whoa, never going home. Water crossing, bridges of roots, servo strong, steering absolute. LED eyes light the path we choose. On the trail it wins, she'll never lose. Ever lose. Rock by rock, line by line, patience is power, the climb takes time. Trail by trail, through the dirt we go, nothing can stop this. Hyper Go, climbing high, never low. On the ledge, on the trail, moving steady, slow. Hyper Go, hear the motors growl. Flow, king of the crow. Whoa, never going home. Whoa, never going home. Whoa, never going home. Creeping up slow, trail lights glow. Win the show with the Hyper Go. King of the crow, never going home. Hyper Go, climbing high, never low, never low, never low, never low, never low. Hyper Go, king of the crow, never going home.
Too much mud on this guy, so we're gonna rinse it off. See if she keeps going. Seems good. Servo's still good. ESC's still good. Wonder how our lights are doing. Lights still good. Turn signals. Yeah, let's go. Reverse lights. Yeah, turn signals. Sick. Of course, walking back on the trail, step on a rock and twist my ankle. So that didn't feel too hot. I guess I'm getting old, guys. Jeez. Wasn't watching where I was walking because I was busy enjoying the drive, guys. Oh, bleh. Now I'm busy talking to you guys. All right, man, things seems pretty good. We full submarined it, submarine Jeep, and let's go this way. Seems fine so far. See if she's still working tomorrow. Probably need to go through and get some oil sprayed on the bearings and whatnot. I think the insides are fine, but I'll do the bearings on where the wheels and portals are, and we'll see how it goes. Pretty awesome though, especially for the scale. There's not a lot of trucks out there that are this scale. Like I said, the UTB18, maybe a couple others, but the fact that this is the exact same wheelbase as the UTB18, exact same track width, pretty awesome. And it was hitting some of those rocks. I mean, those were not nice rocks at all. And so they definitely were testing this guy. They were tons of huge gaps and whatnot, and seemed fine. Again, it's just kind of top heavy, but what do you expect? It's a metal body. Let's get it back on the bench. Give you my final thoughts. Probably do that tomorrow. It's getting late today, actually. And I'm actually out with the family right now. They're at the park over here. They're hanging out at the park over here. So we'll go meet them. Take the Jeep. Whoa. Take the Jeep back over to the Bronco. Hiding down there. And go hang out with the kids. Play on the swing set. You know, all that kind of stuff. And then, like I said, tomorrow we'll revisit the truck, turn it on, see if she still works, and I'll let you guys know. So far, again, I'll save it for the final thoughts, but so far, seems damn good. I can't wait to get the U4, the Bronco, the Baja 1000. Should be pretty awesome. See you guys in a minute through movie magic. All right, we're back. Next day, we did try to squeeze out our tires as much as we could because, again, they're vented, so there's you get water in those foams. You can see a little bit still coming out. Definitely want to make sure you don't leave water in your foams. It'll rot your foams. So we may have to open these up. I don't know. We'll just keep squeezing them out maybe. Should be okay. You just want to get the majority of the water out. Look at how dirty we are, even with the rinsing it. I did want to kind of open up. Well, here, let's turn it on. It's the next day. Let's make sure we work. Did I leave it plugged in? Oh, I did. Stupid me. I left it plugged in. Oh, that's a good sign. Servo's working. Lights are working. Yeah, this is 24 hours. Nice. Everything seems good. Seems good. Seems good. Kind of want to open up the receiver box just to see. And then we're going to clean it up a little bit. I'll probably spray some silicone or some oil. Probably do some oil in the bearings, at least in all the spots where we know there's bearings. Whoa, there's water in there. There is water in there. Well, the receiver's still working. That's good. Yep, water got in there. That's what happens when you submarine it. So we do have a couple products we're going to use from CowRC to kind of clean this guy up. Got these hide wipes. These things are awesome. They have a really good cleaning solution. And then the actual wipe itself has like a soft side. So this is like a more gentle side, if you will. And then this side's like kind of a scrubby, not quite a Brillo pad. You know, it's not really abrasive, but it'll get the gunk out. It's like plastic infused, and it's super stretchy and strong. Not super stretchy, but strong. And yeah, so we're gonna use this to wipe this guy all down, get all the gunk out, clean it up a little bit. Did we crack it? No, it's just a scratch. Those are scratches. But after you go through water, it's important to maintain your RCs. So again, not just cleaning it, but oiling and getting the water out of places. You don't want water just sitting, especially if you're going to put it back on the shelf and it just sits there for a couple weeks. That's not a good thing. Super important to get that stuff cleaned out. Anyway, let's go ahead and unplug this and get the battery out of here, because we are done driving for now. Anyway, you get the point. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and use some of this ultra thin oil with PTFE, long-lasting lubrication for RC bearings. So that'll help defend against corrosion. Realistically, you want to put this stuff on before you go through water, but you know, you can use it afterwards as well. And we'll just go ahead and spray that in to where our bearings are, and I'm gonna pull the wheels off and do all that stuff. And then yeah, we'll be back just to wrap it all up. All right. So we got tons of gunk in here still we got to get out, but I wanted to show you this. So you can use your wipes to wipe it down pretty good, but then there's still always like gunk in the cracks. You see that? Like, see all the gunk in the cracks? That's where this comes in. Look at this stuff. Cow snot. I talked about it earlier, but legit stuff here. Look at this. Just kind of stick it on there and it'll get down in the cracks and crevices and clean all that out. Better than a towel. See this? How are you going to get a towel down in there and clean that out if you really want to go back to looking like a shelf queen? Look at that. Boom. Clean. All that dirt. See all that dirt in there? Boom. Just run it through it. Gone. This stuff is crazy awesome. Like, I'll use it to clean my desk after we get the big stuff off. Once you get the big stuff off and you're trying to get down into the cracks and crevices for the small stuff, this stuff is the answer. Again, I always thought like, yeah, I've seen stuff like this and yeah, maybe I'll use it someday. I use this stuff all the damn time now. All the time. Just to like get into places you can't normally clean. Just run it around it. It's freaking amazing. Look at this. Look at this. It's like all this. Just run it through. See the difference? And I tried wiping it. Like I already used the wipey on there, but you're not getting down in there. But this stuff will get down in there. And it doesn't really stick to the surfaces that you're using it on. Like it does a little bit. It also depends on how humid it is and stuff like that. But you can let it dry out if it's a little too sticky. But yeah, man, so good. And then you just use the whole thing till it's black. Don't put it back in your original bin because you'll contaminate your bin. But like you can just use it until it's completely dirty and it just keeps working. It's crazy. So good. So good. So good. So good. You can even get down into the shocks a little bit. Look at that. Pull stuff out of the springs. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Became a cow snot ad. That wasn't my intent. But I love how good this stuff works. Yeah, especially on like mini Zs. Anyway, also if you want to clean your tires, you can also use these wipes. It's basically the same stuff that's in the tire wash is in their cowhide wipes. So same type of thing, same stuff. Just get it nice and clean. And good. Pretty awesome products, guys. Definitely check out CowRC if you're looking for awesome products for maintenance and lubrications. Alrighty, well there we have it. This thing is actually pretty awesome. I think it's a very cool rig, especially if you're looking for something in this size. Like I said, a competitor to the UTB18 just in size. I think that there's a lot that can be done with this. Maybe at some point we'll do some upgrade videos. We'll see how that goes. Like I said, also we have the Baja 1000 on its way, which is the Bronco version. And I think it's got some updates and stuff. So we'll talk about the differences there when we get that. So make sure you subscribe if you want to see that video. And yeah, do you see this? Look at this, guys. I know I'm still going on about it. Look at that tire. I cleaned that tire, and this tire I haven't cleaned. Well, I cleaned them both with just, you know, a wash kind of going on there and using the cowhide wipes, but you can't get down into the holes. And I used the cow snot. Look at this. You can just like roll it in there and it gets it so clean. It's ridiculous. You just run it in there. So like between comp runs, look at that. Compared to that, I literally just rolled it on there. Just a little bit. And this is a little. If you used a lot more, like if I had a little bit bigger ball, it would just be faster. You just run it in there and it's freaking clean. How cool is that? Anyway, guys, it's not the last time you're gonna hear about that. If you're a fan of the channel, I'm gonna probably be talking about it in a lot of videos because it's awesome. Anyway, this thing is a very cool rig. Like I said, I think some upgrades will do it good for crawling if you want some weight in the front. As a trail rig though, awesome as it is. And drove through the water, no issues. Even got the receiver wet, no issues. Wouldn't recommend that, but we didn't have any issues. And yeah, so I appreciate you guys watching. I know this is a long video. Thank you for hanging out. Why don't you go ahead and put Hyper on the go down in the comments below. Hyper on the go. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, that tells us you watched it all the way till right now, and we appreciate that. Also, it's fun to see people put it down in the comments. People are like, what is going on in the comments of this video? Huge shout out to all of our channel members. Thanks to everybody there that helps support the channel. They get to see videos early before anybody else without ads, priority comment replies. They get a special channel in our Discord for chatting, instant access to me, stuff like that. And if you are interested in a Discord, we do have a Discord community down in the description below. Anybody can join that, and it's a great place to show off your rigs, get questions answered, just hang out with tons of awesome people in there. So definitely check out the Discord if you are even remotely interested in live chats. And it's pretty organized. We have all the different sections for crawling and bashing and racing and courses and electronics and all that, memes, stuff like that. Super cool Discord for sure. So huge shout out to that community as well. And huge shout out to everybody that's a channel subscriber. So thank you for being a subscriber. It's just a click if you're not, and it means the world to me. So if you'd like to help support the channel, in the easiest way, it's to click that subscribe and then also share. So subscribe, share, notification bell, and hit that like. All those things help support the channel. So thank you guys very much. Also, huge shout out again to Maker Fire. I did want to show here, we'll scroll through here a little bit, showing off some of those upgrades that are available for this guy. So if you got one of these or thinking about one of these, maybe snag up some of these upgrades along the way when you order it. So definitely worth checking out Maker Fire for all the cool stuff like this. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. I know this was a long one. I appreciate you hanging out. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Get out there and build something awesome. Build a car, build a course, build a community. Those three things are super important to keep this hobby going. And then smash it, crash it, and bash it. Drive it through the water, but don't break the expensive parts. Peace.
Hyper go, climbing high, never low, on the ledge, on the trail, moving steady, slow.